Hey, what's going on, guys? So for this round, I won't be doing an intro for every round, but for this round specifically, one of the players, Felipe, was suspected of cheating in this round and DQ'd from the event. But that's kind of over and done with, and there's no reason to talk about it or discuss it anymore. So just keep the comment section clean. They were suspected of cheating. They were DQ'd from the event. Just leave it at that. There was still quite a bit of decent gameplay that I went over in this video, so I still want to share it with you guys. So I don't think it was worth not sharing this video with you guys, even if, unfortunately, after it's all said and done, there was definitely some suspicion of cheating in this match. But it's done with. Like I said, the player was DQ'd from the event. No need to discuss it any further. Just leave it at that. And yeah, enjoy the game. Enjoy the gameplay. Breakdown, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, let's get it. Let's see what they're playing. We got Toddy and Felipe. Toddy with the Mew. Yo, appreciate the 52 months there, punch. Versus Psychic Drizzle. So it looks like we got the Malamar. All right, let's go. And the prize cards are 2 switch cards. So opening a Genesect could be pretty rough here. And then looks like everything else is fine. I'm at 1 Meloetta, 1 Mew. Doesn't really matter too much. You do want the Meloetta at some point. Because you do want to send up 3 1-prizers up against the Malamar. I assume this is Malamar from Felipe here, but it could be something else. We'll see. We saw Psychic Energy and Inteleon. Basic Psychic and Inteleon, so that makes you think it's Malamar. It looks like Malamar, though. I think it's an Inkay. They got the Sobble start, and they got a Inkay. Don't bench your Inkay. There's no reason to put any Pokemon in play before the game has started, so don't bench your Inkay. And they could actually get punished here if Toddy's going first, because a Toddy could actually play Escape Rope. 2 Malamar prized, could be a little bit rough. Also a Sobble prize, but it's in the bottom half of them, so it should be drawn theoretically sooner. So Toddy's going first, so this is where you can get punished here. So I really want to see Toddy hit the Escape Rope and punish Felipe here for benching that Inkay, because then it makes getting off Keep Calling harder. Felipe might have a Scoop Up Net in hand, so it might not matter. That could also be an Evolution Instance, I can't really tell. But I hope Toddy hits the Escape Rope here to punish Felipe. There's no reason to bench that Inkay, because you literally can't get donked. It's literally impossible. Like, Toddy can't interact with your hand, and they can't KO your lone Pokemon. Unless they have, like, Quad Scoop Up Net, double Crobat, but it's just not going to happen. So, definitely a big mistake here from Felipe. It's one of those things that is just kind of like, you want it to just be kind of like, you want to play like a robot, basically, and it just should not come up. You should not do it. So in this matchup as Toddy, you want to be using Psychic Leap and sometimes attacking with 1-prizers. You ideally want to open up with hitting with a Mew VMAX, though, and then being like, all right, you whiff the knockout. And then if they whiff the knockout and just hit you, then you can like Psychic Leap into like a Meloetta, or even a Genesect if you're feeling like they're going to whiff the KO on the Genesect. Or you can actually Psychic Leap into another Mew VMAX, thinking they're going to whiff the knockout. So you could have a board set of triple Mew, double Genesect, and an Oricorio. Because Oricorio means for them to KO a Mew VMAX, they need one more. For them to KO a Mew VMAX, they need one more Rapid Strike card. So that's basically how you want to play this as Toddy. You want to like be like, all right, you can't get the KO on my Mew VMAX and send up a Mew VMAX. Or you want to be like, all right, I think you can get the knockout. Instead, I'm going to send up something else. Mew and Genesect's pretty solid here. Won't be able to do the triple Mew play anymore, though, probably, because you're probably going to want to get... Can't bench Boss. You're probably going to want to get Oricorio in play here. We'll see, though. They don't have to put Oricorio in play this turn, I guess. But you... I mean, on the first... You probably want to, though, I think. Yeah. And then you can Psychic Leap into the... You can Psychic Leap into the Oricorio, and then you're like feeding them a 1-prizer for the turn. So there's the Rotom Phone. Two more Genesects to work with. Is that like, I think their V-Star counter is just a piece of cardboard that says V-Star on it. All right, here we go. Genesect number 2 is coming up. They have an Ultra Ball in hand, but it looks like double Boss. And the Boss are pretty good in this matchup. You want to chase Octillery. So they're just going to go for a Genesect for 1 here. They have a Meloetta in hand now as well. And you do want to use all 3 of your 1 prize Pokemon in this matchup, so you could have Ultra Balled that away. You could actually cram this Ultra Ball here. But I don't think you need to. I think you just go Genesect for 2 and just get more options. I think that probably makes the most sense. You don't have to cram the Ultra Ball. That way if you draw like 2 duds, you can Ultra Ball those away. Maybe you should just cram it though, to be honest, because like the chance of you drawing 2 duds is pretty bad and pretty unlikely. And now you have, now the hand looks a little bit awkward here for Ricardo. So I think you can cram it next turn, I guess. So it doesn't get the escape rope here for Ricardo, so no punish. But actually that would have been the play from Ricardo, actually. I think Ricardo should have played the Cram-O-Matic and tried to get an escape rope. So I think that's actually a mistake here from, Ricardo. Ricardo actually should have gone with playing the Cram-O-Matic on the Ultra Ball to try and get the escape rope and punish Felipe for benching the Inkay. Yeah, it doesn't end up doing it. And then, yeah, Felipe just goes attach, pass, keep calling. This is why you choose to go second in this matchup as Malamar, and also why you should choose to go second in this matchup as Mew. You just want to go second because turn 1s are just kind of not great. Here we see the Ultra Ball, sort of a Cram and a Genesect. I think they did top deck a Cram-O-Matic there. They have Boss, they have VMAX, they have Energy, so they can attack this turn if they just find a switch card. So they're just short a switch card here as Ricardo. So we'll probably see Ricardo go with attach Boss Remoraid. KO and Sobble is about the same thing as KO and Remoraid this turn because you're probably not getting knocked out next turn, but maybe to just thin out the hand, you want to actually draw that extra card. We'll see. Yeah, the escape rope is prized. I'm just kind of assuming that Ricardo plays 2 because most people play 2. Like 75% of Mew players or more play 2 escape ropes. So I'm just assuming there's a second one in the deck. Yeah, attach. I probably Boss Remoraid attach. You definitely attach to the Mew. The Boss, I could see it going either way here. You don't have to Boss, but also getting that extra card could be a huge difference. We'll see what Ricardo thinks they want to knock out here. And the thing is, if you find an escape rope as your switch card, they're always sending up an Inkay. And now also, like, if you find an escape rope here as your switch card here as Ricardo. Oh, was that another Boss? That's an unfortunate draw. Like, they're just going to push up an Inkay, unfortunately. So you really want to find a switch specifically. Now, there's the escape rope, but there's still some other cards to work with. They can Cram-O-Matic away the Quick Ball. They can play the Rotom Phone. They can also Cram-O-Matic away the Rotom Phone, but the Rotom Phone does let you dig a little bit deeper here. So I think you probably want to go the other way around. You definitely want to KO Remoraid. You do not want to play escape rope here. So you really want to find your switch. Do you have how the Cram ends? It's a tail. Still have the Rotom Phone to dig a little bit deeper. They have 2 Genesect draws as well, so they're not out of draw power yet. Here comes the phone, gonna peek the top 5, looking for the switch. Like I said, you don't want to KO anything off the bench. The escape rope will just force up an Inkay, which is like, if the Malamar player could pick something for you to knock out every single turn, it would be Inkay or Malamar. So you don't want to let them KO what they want to KO. You know what I'm saying? Probably just throw the Quick Ball on top here, so that way when you, I think they took the Elsa Sparkle. I would have gone the Quick Ball here because you have 2 Genesects left, so that means you can Genesect for 3, Quick Ball, Genesect for more potentially. But I think they put the Elsa Sparkle on top. So that basically means Ricardo's pretty much committed to the escape rope at this point. The chance that you find the switch is a lot less likely now without putting the Quick Ball on top. But I could be wrong. That could have been the Quick Ball there. We'll see what the draw is. I couldn't tell for sure. One, two, three. Yeah, let's see what that... I'm curious to know what that card is. Escape rope still in hand, but we see Ricardo still committed to trying to find the switch. No, it was the Quick Ball. Okay. Quick Ball, Ultra Ball. Oof. It doesn't feel good to draw a Quick Ball with an Ultra Ball, so that feels pretty bad. I'm curious to know how many Mew VMAX Ricardo plays here. You definitely do not evolve the Mew V here. It looks like Ricardo might commit to the escape rope here. Quick Ball. Oh, Ultra Ball. Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to discard your other discard cards with your discard cards, but sometimes you really don't have a choice, to be honest. All right, so Ricardo probably plays three Mew VMAX if you're going to give up Mew VMAX like that. But should not grab a Mew VMAX here if it is in the deck. I think I see it right there. There's a switch. Ricardo's like, all right, it's in there. So let's see if they can find it. One last draw here with this 3rd Genesect. Let's see if they can find that switch card. Once again, has the escape rope if they whiff, so it's not like terrible, but KOing the Remoraid is there's a big difference between KOing Remoraid here or an Inkay. Here we go. Last Genesect draw for 3, 2, 3. No switch card. Okay. Not the end of the world here for Ricardo. Still gets the knockout, which is what you want to do. You want to be on pace here. Basically, the way to think about this matchup as Mew VMAX is you want the game to last exactly... when you go first as Mew VMAX, you want the game to last exactly 7 turns. If you go second as Mew VMAX, you want the game to last exactly 6 turns. Okay, that's actually a mistake there with that choice belt placement. Because that Mew might Psychic Leap. The Mew that they just attached the choice belt to might use Psychic Leap at some point, and then that puts the choice belt back into your deck. So actually the optimal target for choice belt in this matchup is Genesect or Meloetta. So usually Meloetta if it's in play, but Genesect if not. But you actually don't want to put choice belts on Mews in this matchup because they don't play any multi-prize Pokemon to get the extra damage from. Also, there's no reason to attach the choice belt, so that was also a mistake from Ricardo to even put the choice belt in play, because you could top deck an Ultra Ball or a Quick Ball, and your best target to discard could be the choice belt. And Malamar just doesn't play any hand disruption. So that choice belt is actually a mistake to put in play in general. But when you put it in play, you never actually want to put it in play on Mew, because if you end up Psychic Leaping with that Mew, it goes back to your deck. So you actually want to put it on the Meloetta here. But you actually just want to hold it in hand because we weren't drawing more cards with Genesect anyways. So now if you top deck an Ultra Ball or a Quick Ball or get one off the prize cards or whatever, Cramomatic as well, you lose that as an option of a target when you know it's going to sit in your hand on the next turn, because once again, Malamar does not play hand disruption. So definitely some mistakes here from Ricardo. But overall, we're fine. Got the NK KO. Over to Felipe. We see the Octillery grab. This is why we want to KO that Rem Raid. We don't want Octillery in play. We don't want to see that. It feels bad, man. They can get the basic Psychic out as well with the Fog Crystal. Or could go for another NK. We'll see which one they grab. And they're going to try and go for this one-hit KO, I'm sure. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably unlikely they get it. They're not super set up yet. They still need to get a Malamar. They need to get another NK down. So they're probably not set up super well to get off the one-hit KO here. It is possible, though. I see a Level Ball in hand and some supporters. I don't know what they are, though. They might have the Ambition. But I assume that Level Ball would go grab an NK right now if they were gonna... if they're gonna go with it like that. So I actually don't know what they're gonna do here. I assume the Level Ball being played, but they're shuffling their deck, so that makes you think the Level Ball is not being played. They might Ambition first, but they should definitely Level Ball for an NK right now if they can. Yeah, the Ambition's there. No, this is a mistake. No. You always just go get the NK here off this Level Ball, I think, because I think you're pretty much... I would be pretty much committed to probably not being able to get the KO. Maybe they think they can just get the KO here, though. Maybe they just think they can get the KO here, though. The other thing you could have done was Level Ball for Drizzile for Evolution Incense for the Malamar right now, but that also doesn't feel very good. You definitely go get the NK here off that Level Ball, I think, for sure, and then just draw extra cards. I think you pretty much commit to not getting the KO here. I think you just commit to going for KOs on the following turn. Maybe they have it, though. We'll see. We'll see if they have it. They might actually have it here. They're counting. I think they might have it here. Maybe it ends up working out for them. Maybe it ends up working out for them. You still would have drawn one more card off your Cynthia's Ambition, though, if you play the Level Ball now before you Cynthia's Ambition. So there's still a chance that you get the exact same card, but now you're just like a little bit more set up. Looks like they're eyeing up the Escape Rope. So that means they definitely whiffed the knockout here if they're going for the Escape Rope. And that's why the Escape Rope is so good in this deck, is because it allows you to make these plays where you where you always can draw prize cards, basically. You don't whiff turns. And there, they get the NK off the Level Ball anyway. So this is why you just Level Ball for the NK before you Ambition. Because then you just have the play, right? Then you just have it. You get an extra card off Ambition. So they go -1 on Ambition for literally no reason here, because it's unlikely that they probably get the knockout here, to be honest. And then they whiff the knockout. So definitely a mistake here from Felipe. Definitely a mistake here from Felipe. As they end up getting it anyways. Thinking again. So they're probably going to go for a smack here. And if you do just go for a hit here as Felipe, you just want to keep cards in hand that allow you to set up your next Malamar line. Because if Ricardo doesn't boss or doesn't Escape Rope, that means Ricardo's knocking out your active Malamar. And if they're knocking out your active Malamar, if Ricardo's knocking out the active Malamar here, then you want to be able to go Evolve Malamar Energy plus, what's it called? There's a Rescue Carrier. I don't like this play from Felipe. I can't see the hand, but you should definitely hold the Rescue Carrier for a turn and just hit for like 40 damage. Yeah, they're just playing cards at this point. This is definitely a mistake here from Felipe. I can't see the hand, but I think Felipe is trying to hit harder than they need to this turn. We'll see what they end up going with. They might still go with the Escape Rope play, actually, which actually I don't hate. But there's no reason to play the Evolution Incense until you see the... Actually, I don't hate putting the Drizzile in play because this guarantees an out to the Shady Dealings and Teleon, to be honest. I don't like the Rescue Carrier play, though, at all. They grab a Tower of Waters. So getting the double Drizzile out, actually, I don't hate getting out double Drizzile, actually. I take that back because that means you're guaranteed to get to Shady Dealings and Teleon. So depending on the hand, this is correct. They just grab a Tower of Waters, which seems fine. So they're going to hit for like some damage. You do want to hit for some damage, but you don't want to put back like an excess amount of cards back into the deck. So I don't hate that, actually, to be honest. I don't like the Rescue Carrier, though. I think the Rescue Carrier is definitely a misplay. Like, you just never want to put that in play. They have an Evolution Instance in hand. They're going back in. So this one I think is probably a mistake. This one I don't like because this gets you the Shady Dealings and Talion next turn. They're just grabbing Malamar. So they're just trying to hit as hard as possible here, but this is like going against what the deck wants to do. So like I said, you want to, whenever you don't get a one-hit KO, you want to hit them, but you don't want to extend to the point where then if they KO your Malamar, you don't have a, you want to be able to just have the, if you whiff the KO, your hand wants to be Malamar, Inkay, energy. So then when you play the Ambition, you don't have to put Malamar, Inkay, or energy in play off of that hand. There's a net on the Octillery. Unless they have the KO here. Maybe I'm just wrong and they have the KO. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I'm just wrong. They just have the KO. They're going to a 0-card hand. I thought for sure they didn't have the KO from how they were making the play, but he has the, they have the KO. Okay. I'm wrong. I just thought for sure they didn't have the KO because the way they were playing it, but no, but they have the KO. And that's why Oricorio is so important to get down on Ricardo's side. I think Felipe would have had the knockout without it. Given the way they were playing it, it made me just feel like they just didn't have KO. I was like, oh, they just don't have it, but they had it. So yeah, pretty ridiculous turn there from Felipe, actually. The 8 for the knockout. And that's why Oricorio is important. So Felipe still would have had the KO, but they would have had to hold Inkay, I think. And that's actually a huge deal, because then if Ricardo gets the knockout this turn, there's no follow-up attack, follow-up knockout from Felipe. So that's why it's like important to actually get the Oricorio in play. That's why it's actually so important to get Oricorio in play. Now we see Ricardo grabbing it, but now there's no option for the Psychic Leap. That's like also a problem here. So if Felipe plays boss, Felipe can just 2-hit KO on Mew VMAX now. Felipe can just be like, all right, hit it as hard as possible, whiff the knockout, and then Ricardo can't Psychic Leap, and then you end up in trouble there. So I think here as Ricardo, you definitely want to try and hit with Meloetta. You have to try and pull off a Meloetta hit here. You don't want to attack with Mew, because then if Felipe plays boss, Felipe can just 2-hit KO. Alright, so I think Ricardo's reading the Cynthia's Ambition to see if they could actually take a knockout with Oricorio, and that would get around it, but it does not. It's just a knockout during your opponent's turn. But Ricardo's hand is not very good to pull off a Psychic Leap or a Melodious Echo play here. But I think you have to play for it as Ricardo here. Hitting with Mew is dangerous if they play the boss, and majority of people do play the boss. So this is like a, I don't really like this play here from Ricardo. I would have probably just committed the DTE to the Meloetta and then dug really hard for... I would have committed the DTE to the Meloetta and then dug really hard for Sparkle, I think, to try and attack with Meloetta. Because if you attack with Mew here and Felipe plays boss, Felipe can 2-hit KO this Mew VMAX now. So I don't like this play at all here from Ricardo. I think Ricardo's hand is not looking that good. Ricardo's always going to retreat. I think Ricardo has a switch in hand. So now Ricardo is like committed. Like Ricardo needs to hit. I guess it's possible actually Felipe whiffs the knockout on the Mew V. Because like if you're not taking a knockout, they can't take his Ambition. I think also Ricardo should have committed that tablet. That tablet was in hand before the first draw there, so I think Ricardo should have committed that down a turn before. And they can also Sparkle here as well, because I think they're committed to trying to get the knockout on the active. Oh, okay. I thought they were going with the Elsa's Sparkle. They're going with the boss. I guess that makes a little bit more sense probably to knock out a Drizzile that stops like the double Shady Dealings play. It does mean Felipe doesn't need to get Malamar or energy or potentially even Inkay in play next turn though, which I don't know. I think almost committing to the Malamar KO might be better there, because like I think it's pretty unlikely. The reason I like the Malamar KO there, I think a little bit more, because I think it's really unlikely Felipe gets a 1-hit KO next turn. Yeah, maybe it's about the same. Maybe it's still better to just knock out the Drizzile. I guess it's probably, yeah, maybe it is just always better to chase the support Pokemon. Yeah, it probably is. But yeah, I think you should have tried to attack with Meloetta here though overall though, I think, as Ricardo. Because now if Felipe plays boss, like I was saying, all Felipe needs here is a Shady Dealings Inteleon or an Ambition. And then Felipe's in like a fine spot. I think Felipe did not get that off the prize cards though, so I think we're looking for a top deck here from Felipe. But yeah, locking up your bench like this does not feel good, to be honest. Oh, but they go with actually the ping KO. Okay. So Ricardo tries to get a little bit funky here. Goes with the ping knockout on the Inkay instead, which does trap the Drizzile in the active for the turn. So it does, like, potentially now they can't get to the Malamar and attack with Malamar. So that is a play here, but there's like 4 scoop up net in Felipe's deck. So actually, I don't know how much I like this play from Ricardo, to be honest, because like I don't like it. Like Ricardo's out is pretty much always Shady Dealings and Inteleon, and that always leads to scoop up net. So and Felipe, like, I don't know, as Ricardo here, I think you just have to hope they don't get the knockout, and I think it's likely Felipe gets the knockout. So I think just knocking out the Drizzile to then have the potential next turn to go boss KO Drizzile again can put you in a pretty good spot here as Ricardo. Like I said, I kind of liked attacking with Meloetta more so than anything, I think. Yeah, I like attacking with Meloetta more so than anything here as Ricardo. Oh, he got a Karina's Focus off of the Rose Tower. I was super confused by what happened there, but yeah, he just went Rose Tower for he just went Rose Tower for 1. I was super confused there by what happened though. Oh yeah, it's definitely not out of it here for Ricardo. It's definitely still winnable for Ricardo, for sure. What Ricardo could do is go like attack with Oricorio, then attack with Meloetta, or attack with Oricorio, then attack with Meloetta, then go into a Mew VMAX and hope they whiff the KO. But at that point, that's where the escape rope comes into play from Felipe, so, or can come into play. So I definitely give Felipe the advantage here, I think, overall. We'll see though. It's still close. There's the hard retreat. Oh no, you can't attach it. All right, good catch from Ricardo. You can't attach that to non-rapid strike Pokemon. But it's also just fine for Felipe not to attack this turn. I don't think Felipe's under that much pressure to not attack this turn. Like, I think it's 100% fine if Felipe just does not attack this turn. You'll eventually get a scoop up net. It would be ideal to attack this turn for sure, especially if they play boss. That's what I'd be scared of. That's what I was saying with Ricardo. But maybe Ricardo knows they don't play boss, or is just like committed to them just like hopefully not having the boss this turn, which is also fine, I think, to go with that line. All right, Ultra Ball from Ricardo. Nothing to really grab here, so probably failing it. Does have a what's it called though? Oh no, is looking through the deck. Not that many cards left in the deck. 3 Fusion Strike energy though, so can definitely attack with whatever they want this turn as Ricardo. You could commit to just attacking with Mew again. I wouldn't hate that, because you are just like, you need the Mew to like get value at some point of not getting KO'd. So you want to attack with Mew on the turn where you think it's least likely for your opponent to have a knockout, which could be this turn, to be honest. Like, and Ricardo gotta kind of make that decision, because it's either this turn or it's in 3 turns. But in 3 turns, Felipe is probably gonna be a little bit more set up than they are. So I don't hate the idea of Ricardo committing to hoping it's this turn. We'll see though. Here comes the Cramomatic. I'm sure they're looking for a Fusion Strike energy here to attack with Meloetta or Oricorio. They can draw before they use the Elsa Sparkle as well here though, so they can draw 3 off the first Genesect here and try and find a Fusion Strike energy, then Elsa Sparkle afterwards for the next 2. 2, 3. Oh, that is a gross hand. Ew. Nice. You can also Sparkle now though as well. You still have 3 energy in the deck. You can put a DTE on an Oricorio or a Meloetta. It doesn't really matter too much, to be honest, so it's like kind of fine. All right, Stadium in play. Did they play a tablet there? Yeah, Ricardo trying to find the energy before they Elsa Sparkle. 5 cards in hand. Genesect 3 on the way. Come on, give Ricardo the energy. That's actually pretty unfortunate for Ricardo. I wonder if Ricardo should have committed the Sparkle though a turn sooner. Didn't pick the targets beforehand. But that's fine. It's like not a big deal. Oh no, did they get the energy actually? There was 3 Fusion Strike energy in the... Oh no. And here we go. All right, so I don't like this. So Felipe is calling a judge because Ricardo used Elsa Sparkle. The 2 targets on board are very obvious, and this is a mistake from Ricardo. So Elsa Sparkle requires you to pick your targets before you go search your deck for the energy. Why? Because depending on how many energy are there and what is prized and what's not prized, you might put your energy somewhere else. But in this situation, it's very obvious where Ricardo would put the energy, right? It's going to go to Meloetta. It's going to go to Oricorio, right? It's very obvious where the energy are going to go in this situation. So there's no reason to call over a judge. I think it is fair for Felipe to be like, all right, man, you gotta fix it up next time. Like, you gotta play cleaner, right? It's fair for Felipe to be like, I'm not gonna call over a judge this time, but you gotta clean up your play. I think that's very fair, and I think if then Ricardo does it again, it is then fair for Felipe to call over a judge. Like I always say, when I play Pokemon, I'm trying to beat my opponent from playing a game of Pokemon, right? I'm trying to beat my opponent from playing a game of Pokemon, right? And when it's very obvious that it was a mistake on Ricardo's side, and there's obvious what the targets are, like, I don't think it should be that big of a deal. At least that's not how I like to approach the situation, because I'm trying to beat my opponent from playing a game of Pokemon. So it's hard for me to say it's not fine for Felipe to call over a judge, but in my opinion, I think it's very like unsportsmanlike, almost like uncompetitive kind of thing. Like, you are supposed to play correctly, but that's one of those things where it's like obviously a mistake, and it's like when you by accident see an extra card, right? Like, you play research and you by accident see the 8th card. Like, that's a double prize penalty if someone like pushes forward and calls over a judge, right? But like, it's just like an accident, right? Like, it's just kind of like, it's like not something huge. It's not like they played 2 supporters, right, or something like that. I don't know. So that's my idea on it. Like, it's not like you can do whatever you want in those situations. If you want to call over a judge, you can, but I personally look down on playing the game in that manner. That's how I look at the game. That's how I play the game. You can do whatever you want, but I'm not a fan of approaching the game that way, personally. But yeah. All right. NK off the Fog Crystal. I think if you do it multiple times in a row, if like Ricardo used Elsa Sparkle and didn't pick their targets multiple times in a row, then I think it's different. I think like the first time, and the targets are obvious. If the targets weren't obvious, I think it'd be a little bit different as well. But like, the targets are obvious, and you know, it's the first time Ricardo did it in this series, then I think it's like, I don't know, I think you're just fishing at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you're just fishing, like, for prize penalty. All right, another Oricorio snipe KO the Inkay, and now I think Ricardo is actually in the situation where they can pull ahead here, because now they could attack with Oricorios theoretically and get the Mew out of harm's way. But Felipe did whiff again on the last turn. So I don't know if I like sending up the Oricorio here over actually just taking the knockout with the Mew and hoping they don't get the one-hit KO. So I don't know if I like this instead of just actually attacking with. Once again, Ricardo did not get the Meloetta off the prize cards. So yeah, I don't know if I like this play from Ricardo or not. Versus just attacking with the Mew, because it's a lot easier to KO an Oricorio than a Mew. We'll see if Felipe can actually put any kind of knockout together. So I think I would have gone with the Mew attack there on the last turn from Ricardo, because you know Felipe was already struggling. And now there's a good chance that they will continue to struggle on that following turn. So I think that was a good time to like hope that Felipe whiffs the knockout on the Mew. But there's the pass. So now we can just see a boss KO on the Oricorio. Or on the Malamar. And then that should just be game for Ricardo. And yeah, there's the scoop from Felipe. Okay, so we're going to game 2. Ricardo wins game 1. Yeah, really weird. After that knockout from Felipe, after Felipe got that first knockout, the prize cards were no good, and it kind of just drew into an awkward situation. But yeah. Are you allowed to decline a judge shuffling in extra cards if someone accidentally draws a card? I never thought about it before, but with Marnie, you might not want an opponent to have their deck shuffled. I think if that was like, I don't actually know, to be honest, Jake. I think if Marnie was involved, that maybe would just become a 2-prize penalty. I'm not sure. Oh no, after a 2-prize penalty, yeah, you might be able to like bring it up that Marnie's involved, and they would go one way or the other. Yeah, you just have to like let them know that what's it called happened. So I'm not sure if any of you guys saw my my short the other day. So basically, pile shuffling does absolutely nothing. Pile shuffling is like one really long riffle shuffle. I could be incorrect on that as well, but pile shuffling is basically effectively one really long riffle shuffle or mass shuffle. So it's like, instead of just mass shuffling once, you pile shuffle. So there's like no reason to pile shuffle. I actually personally pile shuffle, but only before the match, to just kind of get in the zone and count my cards. Make sure I have a 60 card deck in front of me before I start playing a game. So, but yeah, there's literally no reason to pile shuffle in between games. There's no reason to pile shuffle in between games. It doesn't make it just doesn't change anything unless you drop some cards, but you can just like look under your table. If there's no cards there, you have a 60 card deck, right? So pile shuffling in between games literally makes no sense. It's just kind of a waste of time. I do personally pile shuffle before games, but it doesn't eat the clock, and then it also leads to what's it called? So misplay here from Felipe and Ricardo by both benching a Pokemon before the game begins, so both making a mistake off the rip here. A Fusion Strike energy is prized, which could be a big deal for Ricardo, and double Malamar and Sabal again prized for Felipe. Felipe makes the correct call and chooses to go second. Yeah, still a mistake on Ricardo's side with the Meloetta on the bench. This means you actually can't create the board state of like Mew, 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 Genesect, Oricorio, which means you can like Psychic Leap into Mew VMAX and kind of like chain Mew VMAXs that way, which you can do. And sometimes that's good to do when you think your opponent just won't be able to get the KO on the next Mew VMAX, and you can kind of like just keep looping Mew VMAXs and they just keep whiffing KOs. You can get really far ahead in the prize rate, and then eventually Psychic Leap into your Oricorio when you think they can get the knockout. You basically can just do that. If they're just struggling to like ever set up a board state, right? You go knockout, they go hit you, you go Psychic Leap, send up a Mew VMAX, they go hit the Mew VMAX, and you just kind of repeat. GTE, first and only Genesect for 3. But with the way it looks like they drew, the Meloetta was going to come down in play anyway, so like it's fine. But you just shouldn't bench it before you start your turn. That's what I'm trying to get at here for sure. You appreciate the 13-month resub there, Nick, and the 20-month resub there, Gazer, and the 8-month sub there, Josh. Appreciate all the resubs, guys. Appreciate the support. Another Genesect, and it looks like we'll probably get another Genesect here. But I would actually like to see instead, I would like to see Ricardo grab Oricorio. Which means, okay, they are going for Oricorio, but this also means Ricardo probably just shouldn't have played that quick ball. Because now you played this quick ball when you're not drawing more cards, so like thinning out your deck just doesn't make a difference. And you discarded a Mew VMAX, which is really weird here from Ricardo. Maybe they have a second Mew VMAX in the hand. I didn't think I saw one there though. What is that? That is a Pokemon. That could be another Mew VMAX. Okay, they might actually have a Mew VMAX in hand. I don't know if I still would have played the quick ball yet, but it's not that bad, I don't think, to have played it right now. I think I maybe would have waited a turn though, because you never know for sure what you're going to want on your next turn. Maybe want to bench something else. Like I think like the only thing you do is now you don't top deck Oricorio, but I also like the chance of that happening is so low. I think keeping the option open is just a little bit better, to be honest. So not a huge fan of that play from Ricardo, but it shouldn't be a huge deal. Here comes a Brawly from Felipe. So you got the optimal turn 1 here from Felipe of keep calling or Brawly. Ideally, you fill your whole bench here though as Felipe. You just want a full bench turn 1 from on turn 1 as the Malamar player. You just want a full bench. Doesn't matter how you get it. Brawly, drawing into the Pokemon, keep calling, whatever. You just want a full bench turn 1. That's your goal as a Malamar player. And then have an out to an ambition on the turn 2. With ideally as many cards as you can put in play as possible out of the hand. So we see double Inkay, Remoraid. And if Felipe does have an energy, I would even like to see them go with the keep calling here, to be honest. So we'll see what they have. Yeah, I would even like to see them go with the keep calling here. If they have that energy. Ink Squad down. Ooh, they do have the energy. They do have the Fog Crystal in hand. Yeah, I'd like to even see a keep calling for another Sabal, I think. You could hold that to get an energy though. It depends on the hand a little bit, I guess, but they have the level ball though, so this is even better. But unless you want to save this to get a Drizzile, so instead they're going to commit it to get the Sabal. So yeah, here's it. Full board, turn 1, looking good from Felipe. Has the Fog Crystal in hand, so could commit that this turn to go get a Psychic Energy. And it might have been better to go keep calling, hold the level ball for Drizzile next turn actually as well. So I'd have to see the hand to know for sure, but it might have been better to go keep calling with the energy, because I'm pretty sure it's a Fog Crystal in hand. I could be wrong. And then save the level ball for a Drizzile in the next turn might have been actually better. We'll see how it goes though. It's going to be the pass here. There's the pass. Back over to Ricardo. And Ricardo, yeah, has the Mew VMAX. Like I said, you want to keep the Psychic Leap option around. And then I think ideally Ricardo did discard a boss last turn. See a Cramomatic here. Ideally, you want a boss KO Remoraid. Well, ideally, you want a boss KO Artillery. KOing Remoraid's like okay. But not quite as good. So we'll see if Ricardo even commits to doing that. Another cute way you can kind of play this game from here especially if Felipe doesn't pick up on it. Actually, as Ricardo from here on out, you don't actually have to take prize cards. They don't have a ton of time left. So what Ricardo can actually do, especially with DTE, it makes it so Psychic Leap only does 50 damage. You can actually sit here, and there's the target picks from Ricardo. So playing properly. And like I said, when it's like a little bit less obvious what the targets are, like it's definitely correct to like it's just fine to like what's it called? If like Ricardo didn't pick targets here, I think it would have been fine for Felipe to call a judge, right? Because like the targets are not obvious here of what you'd pick with your Elsa Sparkle before the search, so I think it would have been fine. But when the targets are obvious, I think it's like, I don't know. I don't like when people would call a judge in like that kind of scenario. When the targets are like obvious where the Elsa Sparkle went. When the targets aren't obvious, I think I'm fine with people calling judges on that. But like, and you should try and play as clean as possible. So we see Ricardo commit to the Meloetta attack here. I think I would have liked to have seen an attack with Mew VMAX. It's really easy for Felipe to actually knock out a Meloetta. Like that should be no problem for Felipe. But Felipe would struggle to actually knock out a Mew VMAX. And that's what you want to do, is you need to catch a turn or two where the Malamar player fails to KO Mew VMAX. Because like right now, Ricardo just Felipe just wins the prize trade, even being down the first prize card. So, yeah. You appreciate the 18-month resub there, McFear Me. So right now, excuse me. Right now, it's like super easy for Felipe to get the KO here. Like it's really, really easy for Felipe to get the KO here. And then it gets easier. The more Felipe goes through their deck and like sets up their board state, it becomes easier to get a one-hit KO on a Mew VMAX. So I think this was the turn for Ricardo to attack with a Mew VMAX for that reason. So I think it's definitely just a mistake here from from Ricardo to not attack with Mew VMAX here. I think you should just attack with Mew VMAX and be like, you don't have it. And then if they don't have it, that's where you want to be. And if they do have it, I mean, they just have it, right? You should have to be fine with that. But as soon as you attack with the Meloetta here, you give Felipe more turn to set up their board state while having to do less damage this turn to take the knockout. And then it's like easier for Felipe to now get the follow-up KOs on the Mew VMAX and everything else from there on out. So yeah, Felipe checking the deck here. I think Felipe would probably have taken a Sobble here if there was one. Instead ends up going with the Malamar, which is still fine. But I think they realize there's no Sobble there, so they don't take the Sobble. But the Sobble's prized. You definitely would want another Sobble here in play for sure. They evolved to the Malamar, which I'm not a huge fan of because it's like one less Rapid Strike card to work with. It's not a huge deal, I guess. They can still pitch 3 here and just have the next Malamar set up. But you should know as Felipe that Ricardo does not play Hand Disruption. And also, Ricardo is not going to KO your active Malamar if they have the option next turn. So that means you just shouldn't commit this Malamar down yet. It's fine to search it out with Artillery, because then if like Ricardo whiffs and does KO your active Malamar, then you have the Malamar. But there's no reason to commit it into play yet. So I think that's definitely a mistake here from Felipe to actually bet to evolve the Malamar. Because you know here as Ricardo wants to KO your Artillery. Like they do not want to KO a Malamar. That is literally like useless and pointless for them in comparison to knocking out an Artillery. So you know Ricardo here is going after the Artillery or the Drizzile. And that'd have to like be a call Ricardo makes here. It's like, should they go after the Artillery or the Drizzile? Artillery is usually the more consistent option to like disrupt up your opponent's setup. But there are situations where going after the Artillery can be or going after the Drizzile can be a little bit better. We'll see here. I mean, without a Sobble here though, actually this board state looks pretty good for Ricardo to actually now commit to attacking with the Mew VMAX, to be honest. So I don't hate, I mean, the way it actually played out, it doesn't actually look too bad here for Ricardo to now make the commitment to going after the Artillery, now attacking with Mew VMAX. We'll see what Ricardo ends up fully doing here, but like I said, I think I would have liked to have seen an attack with Mew VMAX last turn and probably just pray they don't have the knockout. And that's what it feels like how this matchup goes. Once again, a mistake with the Choice Belt attachment that should go onto a Genesector or the Oricorio, because if you Psychic Leap back to the deck, you don't want the Choice Belt back in the deck. All right, here we go. First Genesect draw. Does not leave the bench space open for a Meloetta, which is interesting. I think I would have tried to get a Meloetta on the bench there, because then you can like hit with Mew this turn and then Psychic Leap into a, once again, mistake with the Choice Belt attachment. Should be on the Genesects. I would like to try and see a Meloetta come to the bench here. It might have been Prize. Their second Meloetta might be Prize here. That's fine. They might be trying to prevent the Oricorio's attack on the Inkay. You want them to Oricorio attack the Inkay. Unless I just don't know what Cynthia's Ambition does. Hang on. I'm pretty sure Cynthia's Ambition says if you were to... if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, you want them to Oricorio the Inkay. You 100% want them to Oricorio the Inkay. You want that to happen. You want that to happen. You want the Oricorio. You want them to KO the Oricorio. Because then they didn't KO your Octillery or your Drizzile. Like if you feel like your opponent is going to make that mistake, you let them make that mistake, right? If you think Ricardo thinks the correct play in the matchup is to Oricorio Inkays, you're like, yes, you're right. Oricorio the Inkays. You're correctly right here. I'll even leave this Inkay unevolved for you, and then go ahead and Oricorio. So then they make the mistake, and then you just get ahead, right? Because KOing an Inkay is worse than KOing literally anything else on the board. It's literally the worst knockout you can take is KOing the Inkay. It's literally the worst thing you can make. Go through the boss of the Sao Paulo. You might see the Psychic Leap this turn. I would like to have seen boss. Once again, we have to get a turn. I feel like Ricardo goes with the knockout on the Sao Paulo actually over the Octillery. I don't like that, I don't think. But they could have a read on the hand where they think they're only out to stuff his Drizzile. So I don't hate it. Just depends on what Ricardo thinks is in their hand. I don't hate it, but it depends on what Ricardo thinks is in their hand. That's what they're going for here. They're like, all right, I think you're only out to stuff his Drizzile. I'm taking that away from you. Let's see what you got. Never correct to Oricorio the Inkay. It's never correct to Oricorio the Inkay unless you're attacking with the Oricorio. Unless you're attacking with the Oricorio itself. If you're attacking with the Mew through the Oricorio, then you never KO the Inkay. If you're attacking with Oricorio itself to have a one prizer in the active, then it is fine to KO the Inkay. But also, you kind of just want that as Felipe. You want them to like attack with Oricorio for the next turn, to be honest. I guess that's what you prevent is they don't get to attack with Oricorio. I guess that is what you prevent. They don't get to attack with the Oricorio itself next turn. But I think you're also fine with it. They do that because then you have another turn to set up for the bigger KO on the Mew VMAX and reestablish your board state, which was already kind of not in the greatest of spots because of that Sobble or that lack of a Sobble on the last turn. But now we see the carrier for double Sobble. Maybe we should have waited for that and before what's it called, but they might have just to have the knockout in hand here for Felipe, which would put them in a really good spot. They are running out of time though. 15 minutes best 2 out of 3, so they have 8 minutes left. So there's no way a game 3 completes. And this is one of the things with Malamar. I don't think Malamar is too slow of a deck to play in tournaments. I do think there are players who play it too slowly to efficiently or to be efficient in tournaments with it. And I think Felipe has definitely played slower than they need to. They're not slow playing. They've just been playing slower than they need to. They've been playing slower than they need to actually complete a best 2 out of 3 with this deck. So they are 4-0 at this point, but this match they've definitely been playing. You need to be playing faster than what they're playing in like on average. I think they have the KO in hand though. I don't even think they need to play Cynthia's Ambition or anything. I think they just have the KO in hand here for Felipe. The question is, no. I think they have the KO here. We'll see. They're definitely playing like they have the KO here. From the way they've been playing this hand, I feel like they have the KO here, which is a pretty big knockout. They might need to net the Octillery though. It looks like they're eyeing up the net. They also need 9 here because the Oricorio is on the bench. Already played Cynthia? Oh, did they play Cynthia and I just wasn't paying attention? Okay, they're comfortable with benching a Sobble. There's the net. As long as they don't miscount here, I think they have it. They want the Sobble on the bench over the Remoraid. I think they have 10 here, so they could still bench the Remoraid. I think when they counted, I counted them counting 10, so. They only need 9, though. So maybe they're going to try and keep Ocarina's focus or something. Yeah, it looks like they're going to try and keep Akrina's focus. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and get to keep Akrina's focus as well. That's the KO on the Mew VMAX. And all goes back to the deck. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Ricardo has to find a turn where they can attack with Mew VMAX and it doesn't get knocked out in response. Like, you have to find that turn. It wasn't this turn. Ricardo did go with the boss on the Sabal. Like I said, I think I like the boss on the artillery. I don't know if it would have actually made a difference there, though. We couldn't fully see the hand, but generally it feels like on average, KO and artillery is going to give you a better out. You appreciate that 613 sub there, Hollerman. Generally, it feels like you're going to get a better out. You're going to have a higher chance of them whiffing the knockout when you KO the artillery as opposed to the Sabal or the Drizzile. So, I don't know. We'll see. And has a Malamar in play as well. So, actually, could they have picked up... They could have scoop up netted the... Couldn't they have scoop up netted the Malamar, kept the artillery in play, and then held the... Miss both his Malleys. He doesn't really care. You don't need the Malamars. They still have Ordinary Rod left. Like, Felipe still has Ordinary Rod left, so they don't need Malamar, I don't think. I think they have a Rescue Carrier left as well. Like, you don't need those Malamars. Might have been better than the other cards, but, like, they're not necessary for them to win the game for sure. All right, another Mew VMAX setup here from Ricardo. Once again, you have to find a turn where the Mew VMAX takes a hit. Still, you definitely at this point have to find a turn where Mew VMAX can take a hit. So boss KO Drizzile is pretty good here. KO the active Malamar I think is fine. I think you just have to swing with Mew here though as Ricardo. You don't really have a choice. You like have to swing with Mew here as Ricardo. And then hope it just doesn't get knocked out. I don't think you can like you can't afford to attack with a one prize Pokemon because that gives like Felipe a turn to set up. Like Felipe might even be able to pull off something like a Brawly for turn and like reestablish the board or something, and then also knock out the Oricorio. So I think you like as Felipe here, I think you have to, or as Ricardo here, you have to commit to the Mew VMAX attacking, being your attacker for turn, and just being like, I hope you have to knock out, and then from there maybe Psychic Leap into the Oricorio the next turn. But you have to commit to Mew VMAX here, I think, and just be like, all right, you're gonna whiff, and then see if they whiff. Ends up even burning the switch. The other play that Ricardo can make here, though, and I mentioned this earlier, is Ricardo can not attack. Ricardo could choose to not attack, and that means Cynthia's ambition won't trigger. And if Ricardo knows how much time is left, they just need the game to play out for like 3 or 4 more turns, and then Ricardo will just win because they won game 1. So the other choice that Ricardo can make is to choose to not attack and pass with the Mew VMAX in their active, and then Felipe hits it, and then you Psychic Leap it back to the deck, send up the Oricorio, and then pass. Also, I guess in that situation, you'd want to get down your second Meloetta, though, because then Escape Rope does win them the game, or even a boss's orders on the Genesect and the Mew. So you'd want, like, second Mew VMAX in play, but you can't do that because you have to Psychic Leap. Yeah, you can definitely do that, though. Here comes the Cram. I don't even know what they're trying to find here. It's tails anyway. I think I spent 3 Cram Tails for Ricardo here. Has 1 Genesect left, so we might just see a draw 2 and then a swing here. As the phone, though, gonna go with the phone. Probably could go with an Ultra Ball to thin up the hand, or thin out the hand. It seems like the best option, but... Or use Oricorio's attack. Yeah, they could also just use Oricorio's attack. That would be better. Yeah, use Oricorio's attack, but just don't take a knockout. Yeah, that would be better. Maybe try and set up some knockouts over a couple turns. Yeah, it's been all tails this game, I think, so far for Ricardo. Actually, game 1 as well. Ricardo was not flipping well with the Crams either. It's not been a good match for Crams from Ricardo. Card on top, and then last Genesect draw from Ricardo for 3. I have no idea what they put on top here, so we're gonna see. 1 Ultra Ball. So it's the Ultra Ball. Okay, can thin out the hand again. Doesn't really matter this turn. Could still do it this turn just to thin out the hand, but yeah, I think they're just gonna retreat and attack now. The question is, what attack are they gonna use? And like I said, you don't have to take a KO here. I think it's pretty unlikely that Felipe will get the return knockout, but it is also possible. So it's still kind of scary in that regard, because it's definitely possible for Felipe to get the KO to get the KO here. Also Sparkle from Ricardo. Make sure you pick your targets. Or Oricorio, and searches the deck. And there's no Fusion Strike energy left, so maybe that follow there, a Jolt. And all right, we're gonna go with the KO on the Malamar. Over to Felipe. So now this gives Felipe the chance to win this turn. Like I was saying, Ricardo could have just gone with not take a knockout, which I definitely didn't hate for Ricardo to just like attack with the Oricorio, put 5 damage counters in play. So they're trying to figure out whose turn is whose. Trying to figure out which turn is which. It should be 2 turns either way for each player. Oh no, it's just like if Ricardo gets 2 turns or not, which doesn't really matter for Ricardo's prize trade. Felipe always gets 2 turns here. Because if Felipe's turn 1, then they're also turn 3. And if Felipe's turn 0, then Felipe also gets turn 2 as well. So Ricardo literally can't win the game anymore. And it doesn't really matter too much because Felipe always gets 2 turns. So this is kind of irrelevant because... but yeah, I think you're right there, Chip. Ricardo should be turn 0 because Felipe hasn't drawn yet. I think you are correct. But it doesn't matter because Felipe always gets 2 turns and Ricardo can't win the game. I guess Ricardo gets... No, it doesn't matter because Ricardo would be turn... If... Yeah, because like the last turn of the game before Ricardo could do it. Yeah, so it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't really matter. Because it won't actually matter in the long run because Ricardo literally can't win the game. And they don't get like an extra turn to disrupt Felipe's plan for their following turn. They would just get like a turn at the end of it all, so it just doesn't matter at all here. It's like super irrelevant. But they are trying to figure out who is first, and it should be turn 0 for Ricardo, turn 1 for Felipe. I can't think of a situation where it actually ever matters. It just doesn't matter. That's why I think if Ricardo hadn't taken a knockout here, then Ricardo would have actually maybe just won this based on that. Just like not taking a KO here as Ricardo. If Ricardo just didn't take a KO here, I think then there's no Cynthia's Ambition from Felipe, potentially. And that like now Felipe can win this turn. So it looks like they gave Felipe turn 1, which is incorrect, I'm pretty sure. Because if you haven't drawn your card, then you haven't started your turn yet. So then Ricardo was turn 0, I think. But the way this will play out, it doesn't matter. I think that is a mistake on the judges there, though. It looks like they did call the judge, and then they asked them whose turn was whose, and it looks like they did make Felipe... Oh, no, you are correct. Felipe should be turn 1. Felipe should be turn 1. I'm incorrect. I was like thinking about it the wrong way in my head. No. Felipe should be turn 1, and they did make Felipe turn 1. Okay, it is correct. It is correct. Ricardo was still turn 0 because Felipe hadn't drawn a card. Thanks, Chip. Appreciate it, bud. So no, it is correct here. The Evolution Incense off the Shady Dealings from the Drizzile to get the Inteleon, to then get nothing. Okay. I wonder if they should have waited on that level ball there. I don't know if I like that level ball. They might have a Cynthia's Ambition in hand and they have the Inteleon to work with afterwards, but I think it's better to hold the level ball as a level ball and then draw cards with... I think it's incorrect sequencing here from Felipe. They should probably just play the Cynthia's Ambition first. The way because they're shuffling their deck and not going back on the Shady Dealings makes you think they have a Cynthia's Ambition in hand, and they got the basic Psychic, and I think they have the Rescue Carrier as well. But I think you just wait. I think you just Ambition first and hold that level ball as a level ball. Because now you just still have a dead card in your hand in the form of the Inteleon. But you could have drawn into the Drizzile, and then the level ball becomes a Rapid Strike card. I think Felipe is going to get it here, though. They have the Rescue... I think they're going to get it here. I could be wrong on that sequencing, but in my head, it feels incorrect to play it that way. In my head, it feels incorrect to play it that way. Like you should just like attach Ambition. I think Felipe will have if that was the Rescue Carrier and they have this Inteleon, then I think they're gonna have it. We'll see here though. But it doesn't look like they have it. The way they're thinking about it, but maybe they get punished for the missequencing, right? I think there was no reason to have used Drizzile before you just Ambition. It's just better attach Ambition, go. See what you get. Okay, all right. Here we go. Shady Dealings. If you get 2 Rapid Strike cards, There it is. They need 9 because of the Oricorio. 8. No, they have 8. They are 1 short, and they drew into a Drizzile. Perfect punish here. You love to see it. Sure, they could have drawn into 2 Drizzile if the other Drizzile was in the deck, but now they have no place for this Drizzile, and if they don't draw into 2 Drizzile, then they could have had the Drizzile in the deck. So yeah, perfectly punished here. You love to see it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, they had 9. Oh, I was wrong, dude. Why'd they take so long to count that? Dude, I literally thought they didn't have it because they were taking forever, bro. They're like looking at their hand. They counted once too, and then they sat there. I'm like, what did they do? I thought that was a Drizzile. It must have been a Sobble. 9 is 9, bro. They literally sat there for forever. All right, that's round 5. Ends up in a tie, 1-1, Ricardo versus Felipe.